You ever feel stuck? Like your brain wants to move, but your body says, no thanks. Well, you're not lazy. You're just low on something that's deeper within. And that's motivation. If you've ever said, I know what to do, but I just can't get myself to do it, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to break that cycle and finally feel fired up again to do whatever it is that you need to do. You'll walk away with 3 ways to stay motivated no matter what life throws at you. Somebody's watching right now who woke up this morning with no drive, no energy to do anything at all. And you've got deadlines, but it doesn't matter because you ain't moving no faster. You got dreams and goals, but none of that matters because you feel like that you just don't have the energy. And you probably had more energy at other times in your life, but right now it just feels like you just feel so flat. And maybe that's you too. You want to grow, you want to build, and you say that you want to become all that God has called you to be, but motivation keeps going missing. And it feels like that your drive to get it done is just non-existent. And deep down, you're wondering, is this just who I am? And am I the problem? Am I ever gonna, why I want to do these things, but I just can't get myself to do it? Like, what's going on? And let me tell you, you're not broken. You're not broken, but you are being invited by God to grow. And so let's talk about it. Motivation does not come from willpower. It comes from your why. And your why is something that you have to develop. You have to figure it out because your why is not somebody else's why. And so you have to figure out and develop within yourself what your why is. Why, what drives you? What is it that you're trying to accomplish in your life? What makes you feel like that you can't live without doing? What makes you feel that you can't live without pursuing? So that you have to determine your why. And your why is it's your purpose. And so your why is your purpose, and your purpose is what energizes your passion. Your purpose, being so locked in on your purpose, is what's going to give you the energy and the passion to get up and wake up every day knowing what you want to do and knowing what you need to do, and give you the energy to get things done. Ephesians 2:10 says, we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God had prepared in advance for us to do. And so what that means is God has preordained, God has predestined for you to do good works. Each of us individually, God has preordained and predestined for each of us to do something. And you have to discover what that is. That means that it's not random. That means that you're not random. You're not an accident. You've got a reason. You've got a reason to live. You've got a reason to exist. And you've got a reason to make something out of yourself. You got a reason to create a great life for yourself. You've got a reason to please God, live to please God, and to serve other people. You've got a reason. And you got a purpose. And so you have to discover that. And when you remember your reason, when you discover your reason, then you will rediscover your drive and your motivation. Esther was a queen, Queen Esther. She's a queen. She's living in the palace. Life was comfortable in the palace. But when her people were about to be wiped out, she did not want to speak up. She didn't. She was frozen with fear. She did not want to go into the king and tell the king that her people was about to be wiped out. It wasn't until her cousin Mordecai told her, he said, you know what, cuz? He's like, maybe you were born for such a time as this. Maybe the reason why you're here in the palace and God set you up to be here is because of something greater. It's for you to help free your people. And when Mordecai told her that, she got it. And it lit a fire up under her, and her fear had to take a back seat. And she said, okay, well, I'm going to go in and talk to the king. And she said, if I perish, I perish. Because she was afraid that if you go and talk to the king without being invited, that the king would just kill you. And so that was her fear. But she also knew her purpose, and her cousin helped her to discover maybe you here because you're going to help free your people. And you're going to help your people. And so her cousin helped her to see her why, her bigger purpose. And she said, okay, I'll do it. And if I perish, I perish. And so she went in and talked to the king. Her motivation returned to her. And when her motivation returned to her, her actions followed. Let me give you a perspective shift. You don't need more motivation. You need more meaning. More meaning in your life. Like you have to live a life of meaning. And when you live a life of meaning, knowing that you are here for such a time as this, that will give you all the motivation you need to do whatever it is that you need to do. And so the takeaway here is, when you forget your why, you lose your way. But when you find your purpose, you find your power. The next thing is this: motivation is not a mystery. It's a muscle. And so it's a muscle that you have to build. It's not a mystery. It's more like a muscle that you have to build. And how do you build muscles? You build muscles by being disciplined, because discipline is what drives your desires. In 1 Corinthians 9:7, Paul says, I discipline my body and keep it under control. Meaning, I have to have discipline in order to control my body. Think of it like working out. You don't wait until you feel like it to go exercise, because if you did, you'll never exercise. Sometimes you have to say, this is what I do. I'm a person who exercises daily or every other day, or whatever your exercise routine is. You have to become a person who exercises. And when you do it, then the energy comes. And so you can't just always wait till you feel like doing something before you do it. You have to decide, I'm going to do it. And so it's the same thing with faith. It's the same thing with focus. And it's the same thing with motivation. You can't wait. You just have to do the actions, and the motivation and the feelings come later. And so don't be moved by your feelings, but move first, and then your feelings will follow. James Clear, the author of the book Atomic Habits, says this, and I recommend that you get that book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Great book. Anyway, James Clear says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. And so you can create all the goals you want, but it doesn't matter, because it's what you systemize in your life. That's when you're going to fall down to. And so he tells this story in the book of a writer who did not commit to writing a chapter. Because if you commit to writing a chapter, you might say, a whole chapter, that's a lot of pages. Like, I'll never get that done. So this writer did not commit to writing a chapter, but he just committed to writing one sentence a day. And he just committed to this one thing. And that's one small win. But that one small win is a big shift in your mind. And guess what? One sentence became 2, and 2 became 10, and then he finished the book. And so what I'm telling you is, sometimes you have to, and it talks about this in the book, sometimes you have to break things down and just say, what is the one thing that I must do? Or break it down into small things that's manageable. And then when you do something that's small and manageable, then over time you can, ramp it up and get it done. It's the same thing as that says, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so don't look at, when you thinking about what you need to do, don't look at the finished product. Don't look at this big task that you have to do. Now, you can keep that in your mind, in the back of your mind, about the overall thing that you're trying to do. But when you get ready to do something, you have to think about what is the one thing I need to do right now. Because if you think about the whole thing, then of course you're going to lose your motivation because it's hard and there's a lot to do. And so don't think of things that way. Think of what is the one thing that I need to do now in this moment, today, moment by moment, day by day. What do I need to do today? Right? And so motivation is not a magical fairy godmother sprinkling motivational dust on you. No, it's more like a old gym teacher yelling at you and saying, do it anyway. Just do it. Just do it. Motivation is more like that. And so the takeaway here is don't wait for motivation because it may never come. But you have to build a routine that creates the motivation. And so build your routine first and the motivation will eventually come. All right, the next thing is this. Pain can push you or it can paralyze you. And so you want pain. Here's the thing. Pain is a part of life. You can't get around it. Pain is a part of life. And so if you're living part of this life, part of my life and part of your life is pain. That's just the way it is. And so pain is a part of life. And so you can either do two things. You can either let it push you or you can let it paralyze you. I recommend that you let pain push you. Because when you let pain push you, pain can produce perseverance. In James chapter 1, it says, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. Consider an opportunity for great joy. Why? For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. And then I like what it says. It says, so let it grow. Let it grow, because when your endurance is fully developed, then you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing, lacking nothing, wanting nothing. And so pain has a purpose. Pain has a purpose. And so, but the problem that you have is you keep resisting pain instead of letting the pain do what the pain came to do. Because the pain came to give you endurance. It came to give you perseverance. The pain came to test you so that once you pass the test, you can be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And so let the pain do what it does. I know it hurts. I know you don't want to go through the pain, but let the pain do what the pain came to do. Because God is using the pain to get you to where he wants you to be. And so you're not stuck. You just feel weak. And you're stuck because you're being stretched. A perfect example of this is Joseph. Joseph was thrown in a pit by his brothers. His brothers just they didn't like him and they threw him in a pit. They wanted to kill him. But Simeon, one of his brothers, was like, "No, let's just throw him in a pit." So they threw him in a pit. He was sold into slavery. Then he was thrown into prison because he was lied on by Potiphar's wife, and Potiphar threw him in prison. And then he was forgotten by the butler when he was in prison. And so all this stuff happened to Joseph. And he could have quit, but he didn't quit. He just kept trusting in God because he knew his purpose. He knew God had a plan for his life. He knew it. And years later, he ends up second in command in Egypt. He ends up running the whole economic landscape in Egypt. Like all of their economic business decisions, all that ran through Joseph. And then in the end, he told his brothers, he said, "You meant it for evil, but God made it good." And so Joseph's setbacks were not just setbacks. They were setups for what God had already set up for him. See, God had something set up for him. And it took him some time to get through it. And he had to go through the pain and the turmoil and the betrayal and all that to get to what God had already set up for him. And so motivation grows when you stop seeing pain as punishment. And you have to stop seeing pain as punishment, and you have to start seeing it as preparation. as God preparing you for what he already has prepared for you. Because guess what? Here's the takeaway. God does not waste pain, and neither should you. That I know now, anytime I'm in pain now, I immediately start thinking about, okay, what is this setting me up for? That's how I get through it. Because I go through pain, I go through setbacks, I go through people hurting me, I go through that, but I think about, okay, what is God setting me up for? Because he's setting me up for something later on. And so I hold that promise in my heart and in my mind, that knowing that God is setting me up for something, and that lets me get through the day. It helps me to get through the difficult time in my life, because I know that he's setting me up for something on the other side of this. And all I got to do is trust him. And all I got to do is do what James said, that let patience have her perfect work. Let the pain do what the pain came to do in your life. And so let me ask you, what is your why? Because you have to discover what your why is. What is your why? What is your purpose? Because and what pain are you running from that God might be using to make you better and to set you up for what he has set up for you? What is that for you? And so I challenge you to discover what that is for you. Discover your purpose, and what are the things that you need to do? What are the habits? What are the disciplines that you need to do on a daily basis? And do those things, rain or shine, no matter what. And that's how you improve your motivation. Because it's not that you need motivation. You just need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, or why you're going through what you're going through. And so motivation will not always show up, but you can create it by focusing on your why and your purpose. And so imagine this. Imagine, what if you stopped waiting to feel fired up and you just started living fired up, because you understand your why, you understand your purpose? What if churches and schools and families were filled with people who remembered their purpose and did not quit when it got hard? What if we all turned pain into purpose, discipline into desire, struggles into strength? I believe that we would see communities be transformed. We would see Christians on fire again. We would see the world wondering, what's their secret? What is it that they know that we don't know? They'll wonder that. And we will smile, because we would know what it is. We would know it's not a secret. We would know exactly what it is. And so this is how you improve your motivation. You improve your motivation by understanding your why and your purpose. And you can only get that from God, because God does have a purpose for you. And there is a reason why everything in your life is happening the way it is. You just got to get with God and figure out that why. And that's how you improve your motivation. So I hope this helped you. I hope this blesses you. And if it did, please share this with somebody else. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.